How the DM sowed seeds of deception to completely fool the party. I've been plotting to run a false Hydra for months. False Hydra is basically the silence from Doctor Who, except if it eats you, everyone forgets you ever existed. And I implore you, if you're planning on running one, don't just throw it at your players with a few sessions prep. Take your time, plan things out, and the payoff will be substantial. Here's how I ran my false Hydra. I plant seeds. Firstly, my PC's backstories are important to pepper with events you can manipulate. I ran a one-shot for two of my players, a halfling druid and half-orc paladin, and a couple of friends new to D&D. I told them it was fine that they used their characters they're playing as in the campaign, as it was a one-shot and it didn't matter. I began telling them that the druid and paladin had been traveling together for some time. I said they'd become known as the Holy Trio, as two halves made a whole. They're religious characters, and the druid had a pet mouse, so there's three of them. The Holy Trio. They liked it. The game played out as expected, and at the end, the druid and paladin are knocked out, and I end the session with the same words I began our very first session with. It's at this point, the druid and paladin say, "Oh, this is a prequel!" And they brought this new knowledge into the campaign game and began playing as old friends traveling together. Was lovely. That's Seed 1. Months and months ago, the PCs of my campaign took out a bandit camp that was threatening Noshkel, a nearby village. They succeeded in their endeavor and found a map indicating that another village nearby is next to be attacked. The bandit leader told them there was another group of bandits to the north. Upon finding out this info, the players killed the leader off. The map itself has a giant X on it, with the word next scrawled on it right on top of a village called Gullikin. I like giving my players physical copies of items, so I printed this out and handed it to them, complete with wear and tear. This is Seed 2. The players generally don't think ahead with encounters and tend to almost get themselves killed nearly every occasion. This is fine, as they tend to find quite a few health potions on the enemy's bodies. You would never guess, but these have even been known to find them inside the stomachs of wyverns. They don't think much of this and assume it's the DM throwing them a bone. It's not. It's Seed 3. Things occur and the players don't immediately head off to save the village. They'd rather head down into some mines and help solve a mining crisis. This is fine because there's no real time limit on the village about to be attacked, because it's not really about to be attacked. Down in the mines, they get distracted, blow some things up, and find themselves crawling through a caving system and fighting for their lives. They're very close to the Underdark and want to get out, but they blow up the main route back. After a week or so in-game of searching, they finally emerge into the sunshine. It's at this point that a few players have some commitment issues and can't make it for a few games. The players that can make the next few sessions are the Druid and Paladin, and also the Ranger. Perfect, I think. They have a chat and discuss their options. They've surfaced quite close to Gullikin, the village that's under threat from bandit attack, and want to at least warn them of what's going to happen. But they've also got an NPC who's trapped in a permanent hold spell. Best course of action they decide is for the Druid, Paladin, and Ranger to make their way over to Gullikin to warn them, whilst the rest of the PCs take the NPC back to Nashkel, where they know she can get healed. The next session, the Druid, Paladin, and Ranger head to Gullikin, and I let the seeds grow. When they arrive, it's late, and although there are a few people wandering around, the town seems quite empty. I describe them walking up a main street where they can see a tavern, a church, various houses, and a grand-looking home. They stop someone in the street to ask where the mayor lives, thinking the best course of action is to warn him directly. Ranger: "Hello there. Where does the mayor live?" Villager: "Mayor? Haha, why we've never had a mayor here in Gullikin." Ranger: "Is that so? So what's that grand-looking building over there?" Villager: "That? Oh, well, that's the mayoral home, but we've never had a mayor." Ranger: "So, who lives there?" Villager: I don't know, nobody." Paladin: "DM, can I insight check him?" DM: "Sure, he appears to be telling the truth." Paladin: "What? That doesn't make sense." Villager: "We've never had a mayor. I'm sorry, I have to go." The villager runs into the tavern to get away. At this point, the party are highly suspicious and think everyone in the town has been charmed. Half right. They head over to the mayor's house and begin investigating. The doors aren't locked, and there's a layer of dust everywhere. The inside looks quite lived in, though not for some time. There are some personal effects and items pertaining to a mayor's position. Upstairs, there are two bedrooms, a child's bedroom, and a larger one. Inside the larger bedroom is a small painting of a family. Someone definitely lived here. The party are confused and trying to work out why the villager is lying. I tell them it's getting late. What would they like to do? Tavern for sleep. They enter the tavern and speak with the two bartenders. They've apparently run the tavern together for 25 years. They're a married couple and very much in love. Whilst the husband is off making the party supper, the ranger begins a terrible line of questioning to the wife, hinting and indicating that the village is going to be attacked by bandits. Obviously, this terrifies her, and she asks for proof. How could they possibly know this? The ranger says they defeated a group of bandits a week or so ago and found a map, and that the map had this village marked off on it. He hands it over to the wife, and the player gives the physical map to me, the DM. A seed now sprouts. What the players don't know is that I made 2 copies of their map and ripped and wore them down in the exact same way. They're identical in every way, except the one I have has the bandits' camp marked with an X. There's no X over Gullikin. When the player passed me their copy, I look at it and pause. Then, slowly, in character, I ask him if this was some kind of joke. Ranger: what? Wife: I said, is this some kind of joke? There's no marking on Gullikin, and the bandit camp is on the other side of the country. Ranger: no, it just… I stealthily switch the 2 maps and hand back the updated version. There's silence at the table, as they all look down at a map that has an X marked in a completely different location to where they are. Ranger: wait, what? Paladin: something weird is happening here. Druid: I don't like this. The players begin to look at one another in confusion. Why are they here? Why is the map changed? In a huff, the wife refuses to serve the party anymore. The husband comes out with their meals and berates them for playing games with his poor wife. He says they can eat their supper and then he'd probably think about going straight to bed. The party hastily agree. The party have 2 rooms rented out, but given the circumstances, decide they're probably best all sleeping in the same room and keeping watch. A sensible decision. Nothing strange occurs in the night, and when they wake in the morning they feel rested, if a bit paranoid. They collect their belongings and a seed sprouts. DM: there's another bag in the room you don't recognize. Players: what? DM: there's another bag in the room that doesn't belong to any of you. Druid: was it there the night before? DM: no. Ranger: so did anyone come in our room at night? DM: no, you didn't see anyone, and you kept watch. Ranger: so where's this bag come from? DM: I don't know, you'll have to open it and find out. The Paladin and Druid stand well back, and the Ranger approaches the bag. Ranger: it's going to be another mimic, I know it. I explain that the Ranger opens the bag and finds it belongs to an adventurer. It's got basic supplies in it. Looks like it belongs to a cleric, maybe? There's a bit of holy material in there, some religious books. As he searches, he finds some letters. DM: the letters are addressed to the Druid and someone else. You don't recognize the other name. Druid: they're letters for me? DM: you and someone else. There's 2 names on the letter. Someone called Sophia. Paladin: do you know a Sophia? Druid: do I? No, I've never heard of Sophia. Who's Sophia? DM: maybe you can read the letters and find out. There's 5 letters total. I've created them too. I split them up and hand them out to the players. I also tell the Paladin she found a drawing and hand her that. The letters seem to be from a mother and father writing to their 2 children, one of which appears to be the Druid. Every letter is signed off with Mum and Dad. The Druid is very confused at this point, because her backstory says she's an orphan who grew up on the streets of Baldur's Gate. But as the letter progresses, the players discover that there are various inconsistencies. People who were once spoken about aren't mentioned again. A lady had 2 sons, but now only has 1. In the next letter, she never had any children. Finally, the last letter is signed off with just Mum. There's silence around the table. Druid: oh my god, do I have an entire family and I've just forgotten them? Ranger: I have no idea what's going on. The Paladin opens up the drawing and looks at it. It shows a half-orc and 2 halflings. It seems to be crudely drawn by someone much younger. Each figure is labeled with the names of the Druid and the Paladin. Underneath the other halfling is Sophia. Written at the top of the drawing are the words, "The Holy Trio." More silence. Druid: can I check my own bag to see if I have any letters? DM: sure. You open up your bag and see a single letter addressed to yourself and Sophia. You open it. I hand the Druid's player one final letter. Written on it in shaky scrawled handwriting is, "Help! It's eating us!" Druid: oh god. And let me tell you, at this point I'm holding back the joyous laughter. This is what it is to run a false Hydra. The party are aghast and confused and questioning everything, everyone, and everywhere. They want to know what's going on. They're rereading the letters, checking their character sheets, talking it through with one another. They don't understand. They head downstairs and are greeted cheerfully by the barman from the night before. The players want to speak to him about what's going on in town. They have many questions, but they first apologize again for upsetting his wife the night before. Barman: what are you talking about? I've never been married. Players: what? DM. And I think we'll end it there for tonight. A long video, wasn't it? But that was just part 1. The game was an absolute joy to run. One told me it was her favorite she's played. Another said he just wanted to keep playing. What they're beginning to realize is that they've had a cleric in the party the whole time. The third seed, those extra potions they keep finding on the enemies. That's Sophia the cleric casting her spells, or at least how they're rationalizing it now that she's gone. It's ridiculous to think that enemies wouldn't just drink the potions themselves when in a battle. And why would wyverns have health potions in their stomachs? Come on now. Are you guys as excited and as satisfied as the players? Well, hold your beer, because in the next session there will be a few more mysteries, a home with the druid's surname on it, more questions, etc. When the players make their way back to Nashkel and meet the rest of the party, I'm gonna have the other players ask about Sophia. They're gonna remember her. Should be great. Thanks for staying on board this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it a fraction of the amount I did. Stay tuned for the next part, and of course, comment your reactions and suggestions in the comment section below. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, All Things D&D, for more amazing Dungeons & Dragons content.